What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and this week on 7 on Sunday, I'm counting down 7 bands that hate their signature hit song. It could also be an artist, but putting band in the title and also hate is like a strong word, but many of the artists dislike strongly these songs or else have some sort of disdain towards them for whatever reason. I know there's multiple factors that could have you saying, wait John, hold the phone over here, they don't hate this, and also, this isn't really, their signature hit song. It's always gonna be up for debate when it comes to some of these bands or artists, what their signature hit is, but what I'm implying here is that these are artists that hate or have disdain for their massive hit singles. I'll try and provide as much insight as I can in a compact way, and I do hope that you guys enjoy the video. If you do, then please drop a like on it and comment down below what's another artist that you've heard about that doesn't care for one of their massive hit singles. Other than that, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's go ahead and jumpstart the list. Coldplay are a massively popular band that dominated the world and took over not only their home country of the UK, but the entire planet throughout the 2000s, and they continue to be extremely successful. That's been much to some people's chagrin, but I'm personally a big fan of the group. Now, Coldplay have plenty of hit songs, so it's hard to nail down and say what their signature hit is. Obviously, some signs would point to Viva La Vida since it hit #1 in multiple countries, but they also had several other top 10 hits, including this one that I've placed at number 7 on my list today, Speed of Sound. Chris Martin, the lead vocalist of Coldplay, was quoted as saying, "We never got it right," to the British Sun Times when he was referring to Speed of Sound. He later said to Howard Stern when Howard asked, "So, is there a song that you hate that became a hit?" He said, yes, Speed of Sound, it was a shit recording and he doesn't enjoy playing it live. He was not at all kidding about not enjoying playing the song live, because while I did get to experience it myself on their Milo Xyloto tour in 2012, they have only played it 2 times since that year, and those were both in 2016, and they were both in an acoustic rendition. It's clear that Chris Martin doesn't feel that they captured exactly what they should have on that tune, and while I feel it has a perpetual state of atmosphere that really sustains itself, and I keep coming back to it over the years just because I was so fond of it when I was a kid, now I can look back, see some issues with it, say, that's not my favorite Coldplay song, but I think I like it a hell of a lot more than Chris Martin does.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door, no?
At this point, I'm sure any fan of Panic at the Disco has seen the compilation, Brendan Urie is sick of I Write Sins, Not Tragedies.
God damn it, I'm fucking tired of this song! Oh, well imagine.
Brendan Urie is of course the sole remaining member of Panic at this point, and he's hinted multiple times that he's not exactly the biggest fan of the song anymore. It's like, hey, I'll always love you, the parent says, but right now, I just don't like you. And who could blame him after performing it more than 500 times over the years, so many concerts? It's obviously their most performed song that they've ever done because it's one of the oldest songs in their back catalog. It's the song that so many fans demand for them to play, and I'm sure some people would be totally okay if it was off of the set list at least for a while. I'd rather see that one retired for at least a little while and bring back some of the older songs off of Fever that are far superior. I Write Sins Not Tragedies was their biggest hit song for 13 years until High Hopes came along and actually charted higher on the Billboard Hot 100. I would still consider I Write Sins Not Tragedies to be their signature hit song simply because so many generations at this point are aware of it.
Since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all.
We've got another ambiguous one here because of course The Who have so many hit songs, and a lot of people would argue with me and say, oh, signature hit song, that's My Generation, or that's one of their many other massive singles. But of course, again, I said take signature hit song loosely because I've selected Pinball Wizard for the number 5 spot. Pete Townsend has been pretty outspoken on his views on this track. He wrote it because he wanted to impress a music critic, which, you know, I might be really flattered if somebody did that for me. If somebody was like, I'm writing this song because I know that John from ARTV would write it, I'd be like, you know, that kind of sucks in some capacity, but also I'm flattered. Pete Townshend was one of the co-lead vocalists, kind of a secondary vocalist in The Who, and he recalled hating the writing process for Pinball Wizard when he pulled the guitar structures kind of out of his ass and forced the lyrics essentially to come out of his pen in the studio. Why did he write this song? Again, it was to impress the music critic and rock editor Nick Cohn because he loved pinball. This man was all about pinball, and then he was like, hey, if I write you a song that has pinball in it, are you gonna give it a positive review? And he bounced back with, yeah, because I love pinball. 1996 is when Pete Townshend actually exposed his true feelings towards the track, saying, this song is awful, the most clumsy piece of writing I've ever done. He still plays it live. Obviously, at this point, Roger and Pete are the only remaining members of The Who, but they still play it for the fans. And he claims that everybody else in the band just immediately gravitated towards the track when he wrote this in 1969. I'm personally a little bit annoyed at the song at this point in my life, but I can still admit that it's a pretty good song for something that was essentially forced out. Royals as a millennials anthem, as many publications have described it as. It's anthemic as hell at a time when anthems are often kind of mocked or derided. This is of course the song that got myself and so many others across the world hooked on Lorde's music, and while I can readily admit that it's not one of our greatest songs, I still find it to be really solid, really catchy, snappy. The minimalism actually worked in her favor on this tune, but it turns out that Lorde kind of shocked us all by saying, I don't like this song. She in fact had some much stronger feelings than that. She started hinting at her distaste for this song not even 2 years after it had been released initially on the Love Club EP and then later on Pure Heroin in 2013. She started getting interviews with British newspapers and other publications worldwide, noting that it could have been better and that she was only 15 when it was written. That, of course, isn't where it stopped, and then it continued to stockpile as she talked to the British Daily Record in 2014, saying that Royals sounds like a ringtone from a 2006 cell phone. None of the melodies are cool or good, it's disastrous, it's awful. The song Royals ended up winning her 2 Grammy Awards, and despite the fact that she isn't a fan of the track, she does still perform it live. I still am a fan of it, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this video like the song as well, or maybe you just hate it and you're like, I hate this trend that it inspired, all these minimalist millennial knockoffs trying to sound like Lorde. Well, I hate those too, but the original movement was actually really good. Number 3, Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. This was a massive, defining song of the 1990s, a staple of the grunge scene, and Kurt Cobain wrote these songs that felt, yes, anthemic in some ways, but according to bandmate Dave Grohl, it could have been about nothing at all because that's just the way that Kurt wrote sometimes. It could be a deep meaning, or it could be a little bit of nothing. And on this track, Smells Like Teen Spirit, it grew to the point where the band were uncomfortable with the amount of success that it had seen. In a lot of the live performances of Teen Spirit, he started butchering the lyrics intentionally, and he was outspoken about those who align themselves with the song, feeling embarrassed by what cultures had accepted it. Frat parties were consistently tossing this into their rotation, and it had kind of become an anthem for them, which Kurt, as an outspoken feminist, could not stand. He did not like that culture at all, so it makes sense that he kind of grew to hate the song. Even though he liked the song still, he enjoyed performing it in an intimate setting or maybe even just with the band, he grew to hate what the song had become and what it stood for to so many people.
I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody...
Surprise, surprise, the Gallagher brothers don't like something. Who would have ever guessed that they would hate something? But Liam and Noel Gallagher of the band Oasis can't stand Wonderwall. In fact, one of the brothers hates it more than the other, but still, this is one of those songs that everyone jokes about, and here's Wonderwall. Everything along those lines has been done to death, and the band are obviously sick of it as well. I don't think that they cared about it all that much, but they wrote it and they know that this is going to be one of the singles, and it worked out. It was one of the biggest songs of the 90s, especially over in the UK. You can't avoid hearing Wonderwall. It's at everybody's wedding. It's used in every little sentimental mashup ever, and the brothers started to get very outspoken about this in 2008. Liam Gallagher was talking to the radio station WENN about the new Oasis album Dig Out Your Soul in '08, and he said, "At least there's no Wonderwall on there. I can't fucking stand that fucking song. Every time I have to sing it, I want to gag." While Liam didn't mince any words on this subject, Noel has been a little bit more reserved, saying that I felt that we had better songs that could have blown up into the stratosphere in a much better way, and I would have been happier and more proud of that. But obviously at this point, it's clear that neither brother likes it all that much, even though especially Noel will still perform the song.
Dear lady, can you hear the whistle? And you know your stairway lies.
As we reach the peak of Mount, I'm not exactly pleased with the way that this song turned out and the fact that I have to continue performing it after all these years. We have Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, which I'm sure some of you would heavily contest because Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin has been so all over the place with his feelings on this track through the years. He's been expressing disdain with it for decades, going from claiming it's like a distant relative to him to something that he outright doesn't want to perform. By the 1980s, Plant was basically very vocal about his disdain and dislike for the track, saying that if he had to continue performing it at least every night, then he was going to lose his mind, and he got into arguments with Jimmy Page and other band members about performing it as the outro, as the finale, the last song to close out their set, because he didn't want Page noodling around on the guitar with a messy guitar solo that would go on for minutes because he just wanted the song to be over with. I couldn't even imagine the vocal strain that is to perform and sing live, and the fact that it's a monster of a song, a long track, and you have to keep hearing it and you're like, curse this song, curse the fact that we wrote this song and put it out. But also, it's one of those tracks that has just made so many people happy. It's made a lot of people get through a lot of dark times in their life. This is one of the only songs that myself and my parents can even agree on, and they don't listen to any kind of music like this really much at all, but they find the beauty in this track. I think it's brought a lot of people together, and I'm sure that Robert Plant can see that in some ways, but I also can't get too mad at him for not liking the song, for hating it, because this is so overplayed. In fact, a few years back, in fact, maybe at this point, a couple of decades back, Robert Plant actually paid a radio station $10,000 to stop playing the damn song. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of 7 on Sunday. If you want to catch up on the playlist and watch more SOS, then tap the card here, or tap here for another recent video. All of my social media accounts, including my Instagram at ARTVJohn, is linked in the description down below. Give it a follow, and I'll see you soon for more right here on ARTV.